Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Hotline League. The episode, I should say, that should have happened last week. Unfortunately, I was caught up in some plane drama. That sounds more exciting than it was. I had some travel issues that made me get back at like 10 p.m., which would be decidedly after Hotline League would have happened. So I spoke to my lovely guests here, as well as my lovely co-host, and we were able to figure it out so that we could do it this week instead. But don't worry, because now we actually have stuff to talk about, which we wouldn't have had last week because there was no LCS. Before we get into that, though, let me introduce my co-host. It's Cubby. Cubby, how's it going?
Not bad, man. It was good to have a full slate of games back for LCS this week. We were talking about Dune. I have seen Dune Part 1. I have a pending date to see Dune Part 2. And I heard that you didn't enjoy it, Travis.
So I did like it
bummer.
on my letter. So I have a letterbox because I'm trying to see a lot of movies this year, and so I'm doing the goofy letterbox thing. Inero already wincing, and I gotta say I gave it a 3.5. I think that's what I get. Let me check. I might have given it a 3. Anyway, so I didn't say that. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just like. I see, Kelby, for instance, was like, "Oh, this is a 5 out of 5," and I'm like, "Get it together." No, I gave it a 3.5. I gave it a 3.5. It's fine. It's not as good as Bottoms. So I didn't think it was terrible, but I thought that this film and the last film would have been a lot better if they had just made things happen that happened in this episode, in this film, happen in the previous film, because nothing happened in the previous film. Too much happened in this one. All right. Now that Cubby and I have talked about film, let's talk to Kelsey, who is joining us this week. How's it going, Kelsey?
Doing all right. Maybe some other time we'll talk about the extensive history of Dune productions, and why this one was cursed. So
this one was cursed, you think? You've not seen it?
No, what? I mean, not this, but the extensive trilogy. There's like a bunch of issues with effectively like actors and the way that the licensing was supposed to be for this one, and then also COVID happened, heavily delaying everything. It's just a cursed. It's a cursed IP, guys. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think a lot of people feel like it happened. I will say so. I definitely am in the minority in thinking that this film is not like the second coming of Christ. That seems to be what most people's opinion is. Anyway, we have Inero here joining us as well. Inero, how's it going?
Good, Travis. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm going to turn you up a little bit because I think I turned you down too much.
That's fine. You can turn me off. That's all good.
I know that I don't want you to escape. You can't get out.
Okay, no worries, man. Whatever you want from me. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I should have asked. I'll ask Kelsey this in a second because I should have asked her as well. But Inero, for those who are unaware of what you are up to, what are you up to now? Now that Golden Guardians has been scrubbed from history, starting with the social media accounts.
So I am still working with the Warriors. I'm currently a basically real estate salesman for them at the moment.
I see. You're part of the scrub committee. You're going in and finding all evidence that Golden Guardians ever existed, and you're trying to expunge it.
I am not involved in that part, but that is tragic that happened. That is quite unlucky.
Okay.
But no, I'm still working with the Warriors, figuring out my position there over time, and then I'm also coaching for Disguised.
Gotcha. Okay. Well. Exciting to hear that you are still in the scene these days. Kelsey, what are you up to? Because you moved away from LA, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah. So I moved to LA. I'm currently kind of looking for things.
You moved out of LA, you mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I frequently say the incorrect thing, and then Twitch chat has started gaslighting me about it, and I'm never quite sure what I say anymore. But yeah, I moved out of LA basically to save money at the moment. But I'm still looking for things. Obviously, it'd be great to continue working in NA League of Legends. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of streaming. So if you're interested in LPL co-streams or NACL co-streams, I know that's a very wide spectrum. I do that on my Twitch channel at the moment, KARONMOSER. And then, of course, like if we're looking for coaching, administrative work, content work, production work, whatever, also feel free to hit me up. So that was my give me a job plug. Thank you. I've done it now. We can move on.
Yeah. Very good. Well, let's chat a little bit about what you all have thought of LCS so far. Cubby, what did you think of the it used to be called the Battle Theater, but the face-off cage, I guess, whatever. They did not have an official name for that space this weekend.
I mean, it was the LCS face-off. It was the satellite room. Honestly, like, I mean, there are a bunch of memes I can make about, like throwing the teams in the back room, right? Like Zazel, I think the interview he said, he was like, "I'm glad we wanted the broom closet," right?
Yes.
So they just wanted to make sure every league pro lived out their dream of being Harry Potter at some point in their lives, I guess. But honestly, that's a pretty tough ask for the broadcast. And I think that there were some okay moments. I like the fact they are interviewing players as draft is going on and try to get into trash talk. I don't know. I feel like it was a really tough scenario, and with some of the limitations they found, I was telling them hey, with draft being pre-recorded, it might be a good time to do interviews on stage during draft, and I think they got to utilize that a little bit this week. It's obviously not an ideal situation and not permanent, but I think that they actually were able to get some good moments out of it. So I didn't mind it all too much. I think the biggest missing piece was the no audience, but besides that, I actually thought they did an okay job.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know, Kelsey or Inero, if you had thoughts on this weekend's broadcast.
I think it's pretty shit, respectfully. I don't know. Everyone knew it was coming, but I've had a big gripe though with Riot, basically just not willing to say that Valorant is the primary title to the teams and shit, and then they do stuff like this with it, where it's clear Valorant is the primary title, which is fine, everyone fucking knows, we've all known for a while, but they have explicitly internally refused to say that we're prioritizing Valorant when everyone knows we're prioritizing Valorant. It's really obvious, and it makes it feel more ominous. At least that's how I felt when I talked to Riot about it. At least the person who was at Riot talking to us when I had bitched about this. It's just yeah, man, you can just say Valorant. We know it's not TFT. We know it's not Legends of Runeterra. Let's just call a spade a spade.
When you get a chance, I think your microphone is getting kind of wonky. I don't know why.
Wonky how?
It's peaking a lot in a way that it wasn't before. You might have adjusted the
Peaking a
setting or
lot.
something. I'm not sure. But
I haven't adjusted anything, but I'll go do a little investigation for you.
Thank
man.
you.
No problem.
I mean, I think one of the things that Riot did not do a good job of, and I think they referenced it once at the beginning of the split. Okay, Riot likes to do this thing where they have to make a decision that they know people are not going to like, and so they kind of try to dress it up. And in their defense, I think that they did a good job of dressing this one up with regards to we're going to embrace this. We're going to we have to be in the smaller room, so we're going to embrace it. We're going to do LCS face off or whatever. But I think they could have emphasized hey, we've moved back to the weekends, and we were not planning on doing that because, for whatever reason, I feel like they should have known that they were going to be doing this by the summer split. But that was, to my understanding, the main reason why this happened is they moved back to weekends, and Valorant had already been scheduled to use that space. LCS pushed to be able to get back on the weekends, and this was the compromise.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they had just said that a little bit more, then the audience would have been all right, whatever, we get it. At least we're getting weekends. If they had said, hey, you wanted weekends, this was the cost, people would have been fine, fuck it, whatever. But instead, they tried to kind of sweep it under the rug a little bit, or maybe they didn't try to, but that's kind of the way it felt, as they were trying to emphasize the like coolness of this. And I think if they had just owned that part a little bit more, people would have felt more grounded in it.
I think, I guess in the defense of not being transparent about it, how exactly do you say, yeah, we think League is dying, by the way, so
You just don't say it. You put them all in a
Valorant
broom
is
closet.
Valorant is number one. We're just gonna put them in a cage and then whatever, see what happens after that. It's like really, I don't know. It is a very difficult topic to address publicly. Is that Valorant is the primary title, because you have to kind of explain your reasoning as to why Valorant is the primary title, and it's a new shiny thing isn't necessarily completely accurate. It's more like, oh, okay, I don't know, viewership numbers, current player engagement, whatever their metrics that they're using to kind of put everything on Valorant primarily doesn't look good for League, and generally speaking is only going to encourage negative community sentiment. So it is very difficult to have something that people will just say, oh, okay, I get it, and then move on. So I think it's a little bit like, yes, diehard fans will be like, yeah, cool. We get it. We're on the weekend, so we have a more scuffed studio. Yeah, we get it. Valorant is more prioritized. I'm still gonna keep watching League. We love League, but other fans are like, why? What's the point of investing my time into this when Riot doesn't even believe in the product? So that's like kind of the counter argument for making it public.
Yeah, but I think if you can win over the hardcore fans, it's fine. Because like honestly, you're not going to be able to message to the rest of the fans. Like what I was fascinated by was I tweeted out something about how I thought that they were doing a pretty good job using the space for the constraints. Like the LCS was doing a good job given the constraints that were put on them. And a lot of Twitter replies, and I saw this elsewhere too, people they had no idea what this was. They had not heard of this. They were literally just like, hey, I'm just tuning in. I remember there was a break. Why are we in this space? Why don't we have the stage? And so I think that you message for the hardcore fans, and then for the rest of the fans, you're just never going to be able to get through to them anyway. So I don't know. I also somewhat, God, maybe this is, maybe we're going to get in an argument already because I feel like Inero's ready to beef.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, Kelsey, you said, well, how does Riot not just say, or you're saying, yeah, Riot can't just come out and say, we think League is dying. And like, I don't think that is what they think. I mean, when I talk to people at Riot, like the League of Legends player base in North America is not dramatically decreasing like everybody says. You know, players go in and they're like, oh, my queue time's longer and LCS is lower viewership. So like League is dying in North America or whatever. But that is not my understanding of the health of the game in North America, and it's certainly not dying, quote unquote, elsewhere. So like,
yeah, I think,
yeah,
I guess like I misspoke. It's more like the engagement in the esports side
sure,
is more to my point. Like LCS itself, less League of Legends, because yeah, I've definitely heard the statistics and the Riot spiel and all those things, and their big thing is obviously converting a newer audience, and that's like why I targeted that specifically, is because Riot, I think, being transparent about the fact that LCS is not necessarily performing well, whereas Valorant is performing well, maybe by their optics, is what is leading them to decide, okay, with all this information, we're going to prioritize Valorant and then see what League of Legends can do as like a more disadvantaged product to then start converting a new audience and start coming back. You don't then say, it's like probably in their minds very difficult to come out and say, oh, by the way, this is like how we feel. And then a new audience trying to be interested in getting into the game will very easily misinterpret it or see it this way. And Riot, I think, internally very much want to prioritize a new audience, which is why I don't think you can just message for hardcore fans. I think if you just message for hardcore fans, in Riot's eyes, you're not necessarily going to be converting the new audience. So that's why I think a lot of the messaging has been super confusing. I'm not necessarily agreeing that it's like the best, that they've approached it in 100% the best way. I think that is an indefensible argument. But I do think that probably part of the reason why it is so confusing is because I think they they are under a push to convert new fans to LCS. And right now, messaging to like exclusively target the hardcore fans doesn't really do that for them.
I don't know. I completely disagree that they are trying to convert new fans to LCS because I see nothing that they do to do that. You know, like honestly, last year it felt like they were doing more of that than this year because last year they bring in influencers and stuff, and we can debate whether or not that it was effective or not. But like, if you look at what they are doing this year with the league, it feels like they are just doubling down on the hardcore fans that are already there, and maybe trying to earn back some of the people from past years, but like by just streamlining the product. But I don't see a bunch of changes that are happening to the league that support the idea of like, hey, we want to get people who've never watched LCS before to start watching.
And isn't a lot of the changes lowering wait times between games, etc., specifically aimed at more casual fans who basically just tune on and want to watch games?
Do you feel like I think that's just more about increasing retention on the broadcast? I don't think that
I mean,
like
it's about average viewership for sure, but I also think casual fans care way more about just watching the games, and they're the ones who will click off if they see like break content, right? And they're the ones who are not being retained in that sense. So for me, like I think they do want to broaden the casual fan base, and I do think that is still a big part of the mandate because like the existing viewership and just trying to maintain existing viewership, I think is not paying the bills. So that's like from my perspective, even if maybe they aren't explicitly doing a bunch of new Zoomery things, it's still very much like their focus is way more storyline driven, minimizing break times, all of these things to just like put the game in front of you and then also like tell the stories, which are much more suited to a casual audience. So I think from that perspective, I do think the broadcast direction is still aimed at broadening the viewer base.
Well, I'll tell you the one thing you didn't mention that is kind of the counter, that is an additional counter argument against what I was just saying that I just thought about was the co-stream stuff. Because they have broadened the audience by bringing in all these other language co-streamers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So by that, in that sense, they have done that. So I don't know, whatever. We can these can be calls that we could be talking about all this in.
That's
so.
true. I think there's like a real question like about resources too. Because like it feels like they almost don't have the resources to like do a lot of stuff anymore, which makes me disappointed. Because like I used to love stuff like The Drive, you know, like they really like focus in on player stories, and I think like as the season goes on, I'm kind of missing stuff like that popping up in the middle of the week. It's like really high effort LCS features stuff. So I know the team and budget got narrowed a lot, but it really sucks to. I think a lot of the things they're doing, at least during the broadcast, are good, but like the supporting stuff and content around it is definitely more bare bones. I can recognize that a lot this year.
Yeah. I definitely agree with the resource thing because they have.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a Sever Finals, baby. Like that is a definite lack of resources. Okay. Let's see what all. Oh, go ahead, Inero.
I was just gonna say on that, even what you just said, isn't this just them avoiding to like say stuff constantly? Like that's what's pissed me off about it. Is like the thing about like Valorant being prioritized. I think them not saying to the public, totally fine. I think that makes sense because I don't think the investors would be happy about that, like the owners. But at least like internally have that messaging of like, hey guys, this is more of a priority, and then work with the teams together on how to make it better, rather than just not saying it outright and letting us all just figure it out ourselves and know it and now resent you for it. Like that's the part that's annoying, you know?
Yeah.
Because we all know. It's just like when you're not told and it's like secret, it's like, do you think we're dumb? Do you think we can't see it as the Valorant posters slowly get plastered on the walls throughout the studio, but they don't mention it and they're like, oh, it's fine. As the Valorant teams have like nice badges and the LCS teams have old plastic ones. Like all these weird small changes that like don't matter, but it's clear one is like getting the nice treatment and one isn't. Like we all know, like we're not stupid. It's just like be upfront and then it's fine. And then let everyone work on it together to actually make our investments work, because everyone has a vested interest in making it work, you know?
Yeah.
Just don't be dishonest, IMO.
Okay, so let's talk about everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks. I think most of it has been just this past weekend of games, because I don't think there's been any like big announcements or drama or anything like that, no roster changes or whatever in the past 2 weeks. But Twitch chat or any of you, let me know if I'm forgetting anything. Obviously, this past weekend, we saw NRG start to kick back into action, and C9 kind of. I mean, they've looked a little wonky, but they're. I think that was the big narrative that Riot was pushing going into this weekend was like, oh, NRG and C9 have to like get their stuff together. They're supposed to be two of the best teams, and they had not been. So we'll see what happens there. Team Liquid looking pretty mid, literally, as they're tied for 5th right now with Dig. So I think there's some interesting stuff to talk about this episode. But yeah, has there been anything else that I am missing that has happened in the last 2 weeks or not?
You're missing the DSG resurgence in NACL.
Yeah, I thought this was the Challengers episode.
Yeah,
we have
to be clear,
Inero
I never marketed it as the Challengers episode.
Comeback.
I just thought this would be the salty former LCS people episode.
Yeah, let's just chill on everyone, Travis. Let's do that for
No,
2 hours.
That is not what I want to do. But here's what it is.
Oh,
Inero and Kelsey are two of the people that I know that are most passionate about North American League of Legends esports and infrastructure. So having both of them on, I think I'm hoping we'll have some great conversations and spark some good stuff. So this is not a shit on LCS experience, but even though some of us I know are feeling a little bitter and frustrated. But grats on DSG resurging Inero. Did you resurge them for them?
No, our players are doing well, so it's good for them.
Yeah,
it's not me.
Oh yeah, we can do. Oh, that's another thing. Okay, actually, that is one take that I don't know how much you've already pulled, Cubby, but you went to town. Okay, never mind.
I got a few. We did start at like 7:15, but if there's a take that you might want to set up, go for it.
No, okay, during the last 2 weeks, I released a video about best of 3. It was, I would say, not well received. People, I have decided, have a sort of emotional and or religious fervor around this topic. And so I thought I was releasing a video that was like, hey, folks, here's like the logical reasons why a implementation of best of 3 might not work well with the current dynamic of the LCS. People took it as, you're a fucking heretic, Travis, and we will burn you at the stake for suggesting that best of 3s is not the superior format. So that was unfortunate, because that video I was kind of hoping would be a little bit more well received in terms of, even if people don't like the sentiment, they could understand what I was saying. So if I did think that maybe we'd end up having a call about best of 3s and stuff on this episode, which might be.
Yeah, we might have one.
Okay.
And speaking of that, I mean, if you want to call, you can in Twitch chat live. Go to Travis's Discord, which is discord.gg/Travis, or just in the chat, just type !Discord, and drop in your takes to pleb or subtopics. If they're good, I might pull them and have you in the waiting room, and then you can come talk with me, Inero, Kelsey, and Travis. And we got some calls, so I think we should get to it, Travis.
Yeah, by the way, I'm not going to get one guide, but just for this 30 seconds, I will. This is the exact type of thing I'm talking about, where I think a lot of the people who were really angry about that video didn't watch the video. So Slumdo in the chat says, let's be honest, the data behind what you're saying is over 7 years old. And I'm like, my guy, I was talking about how it would be how it would need to be implemented this year, not about viewership data. It's not like I showed viewership data of it regressing or viewership regressing a ton over this. My main point was the format would be not great because of the way that Riot would still keep it to Saturdays and Sundays, and we'd probably do single round robin, but whatever. Maybe we'll get to a call about that. All right. Well, without further ado, Cubby, do you want to go grab our first caller?
Yep.
All right. Off he goes. Shout out to a whole bunch of people who subbed. Let's see. We got... Who do we got? Oh, man. A lot of people subbed. Thank you to Nuclei, Glimmerglen, Shadow Spectre, Bernie's Left Nut, Avura, Frailty, gifted a sub, Notorious Bubble, Guess Monster, gifted a sub, resubbed, and so did Fidel's Cash Flow, and
Nice.
Lady
Great name.
Empire. Well, it looks like we got our first caller here. Scattercat is here. Scattercat, where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from Rochester, Minnesota.
Rochester, Minnesota. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Okay, so I think that the LCS should stop doing splits altogether and just do one long, continuous season like traditional sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, stuff like that. And the reason why is because I think as far as storytelling goes and really telling a story about teams throughout the season, it'll be a lot more effective at making those stories more dramatic, and we'll get a lot better stories that way. And I also think that it's just cooler to have like one champion every year instead of two champions every year, because then there's always this asterisk next to LCS champion asterisk spring or asterisk summer, you know. So that's my take.
I think Riot's heard that one internally a lot in some form and have not done it. So I think Riot would unfortunately disagree for whatever reason. I know a lot of formats have been pitched their way with doing like one like tournament season and then like doing like a little tournament at the start or something, and having the one like actual like 2023 champion for it, and that person goes like Worlds the first seed, and then the start of the season is like that's how you justify MSI, and you have like points or whatever format you want to do there. But I don't know if they're ever going to do the one season thing for whatever reason.
It happened in 21, no? Like they had splits, but it was.
Yeah, but that was like fake. Like, what the fuck? It's just like, yeah, here's your spring.
still,
Oh,
yeah.
also your summer's now doomed because of it. Enjoy.
Yeah,
But then again,
yeah.
I didn't really get to experience that because that was like the GG, like, oh, our team just got sold. We have no money. Like, put your academy team in roster. So
Yeah.
we started 3-15 in spring, so whatever we did in summer didn't even matter.
That was
unfortunately.
the Keith support experiment, yeah? Was it that
No,
year?
that was 2020 when we did
Oh,
well.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2021 was the Niles iconic Ablaze Olive
Yeah.
Sticks
Oh,
Newbie
yeah.
roster.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was that one.
Yeah,
You just want me to lower my gain?
yes, I would like you to lower your gain.
Is this lowering or higher?
I think that's lowering.
Is this higher?
E-
I'm fine.
No, actually, I'm not seeing much change.
Okay. Well, this is the gain knob.
Wait, that's a little bit better. Whatever
you.
you just did. You can take a step back. Okay. Anyway, back to the conversation. I messaged you on the side so that we wouldn't disrupt the conversation. So we did do that a little bit in 2021, but we still did the finals and stuff. It sounds like you're suggesting, Scattercat, that we would not even do a finals. We would only have one champion.
Yeah, what I'm suggesting is that there's only one playoffs and one finals at the very end of the year before Worlds. And I mean, I also have a couple of takes about Worlds not being every year, but like that's separate from this whole conversation.
Yeah, that's a
That's-
separate conversation.
That's pretty wild.
Go ahead.
Personally, if I had to dictate the schedule globally, I would do a major system, which I know that Riot will probably never do for a lot of reasons. Given that we're down road shows and Dota does that, but I love majors. The reason I found this take interesting is like thinking about it from like almost like an F1 circuit perspective, right? Where you're gonna have like so many races, and then you have a point system that you can add up and go from there. I don't know. I think regardless in the schedule, like Riot is at the moment dedicated to having 2 and potentially 3 international tournaments. It's probably going to be 2. I think from a global schedule, like I'd rather just have splits lead up to that. I think that if you're going to go do stuff over the year, I think it could lead to fun stories, but then you're going to get too many moments where like games don't matter. And I think like the one perk of having the short schedule this year is that everyone's in it, you know? So I like there is something hype about 14 games in a sense that like anything can happen, even if I really despise it. And so for that reason, I probably want to keep this to splits.
There's a decent argument for not having splits is the fact that like the finals are getting played in the studio. I mean, we barely have like I mean, that's what I'm just saying, like we don't really have a finals anymore. So like why what is the culmination point? You know what I mean?
That's sadly true.
And I think the main counter argument that would exist would be, you get like the hype, best of fives leading up to like a winner, and playoffs is always more exciting for fans if you're cutting it down to like one playoffs per split. But you don't have to have one playoffs per split. You can do what LEC does and have two. You could just keep going, and it's just you just have tournaments over and over and over, which would be kind of like a major system, or like a King of the Hill format, right? So that would be more of like a one season format with a lot of storylines. But then you would talk about, then everyone really would rather rag on Immortals for paycheck stealing, because they would basically play like what, 8 games a year and then be maximum chilling. So it really kind of depends on the perspective there. It's like, do you want more hype events that culminate in something even if there is no roadshow? Because I think people still like the best of 5 tournament format for the sake of the best of 5 tournament format, even if there is no roadshow. Or would you rather just try to see if you can storytell more consistently with like smaller BO3s? So there's like a lot that goes into format planning, but I think if you're just kind of extending the regular season play, that will get kind of monotonous for a lot of people, at least based on anecdotal evidence.
Yeah. Inero, what did you think about the mid-season tournament for the NBA this year? Because they tried it this year.
Well, now you've turned your game down completely.
Oh, no.
He's trying to cuss me out right now. He's like, "Oh, Travis, you told me to do this, and now it's not working." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
We can't hear
I'd
you.
be curious because like it is something like the NBA did try, and it was like very new. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, now you're good.
I have changed nothing. I went into the settings and I turned it off and then on again.
Okay.
No, the midseason tournament was cool. The one the Lakers won.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty sick. There was a whole like thing about the Pacers as well, doing well in that.
Halliburton was beasting.
And it was like a younger team, and it was about how they were like. There's a whole narrative about them being like hungry for the money because it like actually is important for them how much they would get from it. It was sick. People like tournaments more than anything. Like I've started following the NBA, but like I'm not watching every regular season game.
No.
Tournaments are fun. Tournaments are enjoyable because there's actual stakes to it. Where like a regular season game, realistically, like if you have a long season, you're gonna use a lot of games to just like try shit. Because it's not going to matter for playoffs. Like, it's just not going to. You have enough games to catch up to where, like, okay, if you have to sweat at the moment, you will, but you'll try things.
Okay, but when we talk about a random mid-season tournament happening, isn't that literally spring finals?
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of I think the point that we're arguing.
Yeah, it'd be that like without a reset, except for I believe for the tournament, like they reset all the like your record was used for seeding in a way, but like you were 0-0 at the start of your group. Am I correct in that? I don't remember the full format for the NBA tournament.
I don't remember exactly how it started off. So unfortunately, I would love to give you that info as the NBA rep, but I am a fake fan. Forgive me.
Give me a sec. I can try to figure this one out.
I think also the other thing that the point is maybe dancing around a bit is that one of the bigger problems is just like the stakes of spring, like always kind of landing those. I think the MSI having 2 teams is kind of a step in the right direction though, because 2 teams I think makes it feel like MSI is a bigger deal, and therefore the stakes for spring I think matter a lot more to people. But that's one element of it, and then I think regardless you're going to have to, because of the international formats, you're going to have like some kind of qualifying tournament regardless, so that also makes it very impossible to have like a continuous split without there being like a random mid-season tournament, which is basically spring finals. So yeah,
I don't know. I think so to bring it back to your take, caller, I don't know. I don't think we've gained too much from going to a single split system. I think viewership is usually up during playoffs. I think spring finals is usually, I think almost always the highest viewed event of the regular season in terms of, compared to any international event. Spring finals peaks. Summer is always down. So getting rid of the thing that is the high point for the league from a viewership perspective, I feel like is maybe not a good strategy. I guess that is separate from perhaps how players feel about certain things, because that was one of my big takeaways from the best of 3 thing, is that a lot of people they're like, I don't give a shit about viewership or anything else. I just want the thing that I want. And so I can understand how that might be the case for some people, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine them getting rid of this thing that is so big. So anything that you want to shout out here at the end of the call?
Yeah, I'll shout out a couple of things. First of all, shout out to whoever in the LCS was in charge of the stage design for the main stage this year, because I think it's the best stage that the LCS has ever had. I love the 2 teams facing each other on stage and getting to look across at each other. I think that's a really, really cool setup. Also, major shout out to the casters. I mean, this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but they're doing the best with what they got. And, I feel bad for them, because it feels like this year Riot cares less about the casters than they did in previous years, and they care less about the analyst desk as well. So, like, I know that they're working their butts off, and I got to give them a shout out for that as well. Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah. Oh, and shout out to you as well. I mean, I was a newspaper journalist for a year back in the day, and I absolutely hated it. I thought it was awful. So the fact that you're still in the journalism field here after all these years is really commendable, because especially in esports, because that can't be easy. So
no, I hate it. It's awful. So I agree. You were smart enough to leave after a year. Anyway, thank you so much for the call, and we'll catch you later.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much to our caller here. Cubby, you want to go grab the next caller? Shout out to Cosmocaps, Triumvirus, Cubby, Senpai Prime for 1 year, Hobnobbin, Just Buckman, Swede gifted a sub to Inero. I'm surprised he was not already subbed. Kiabo Bandit, Gurnt, Danny Grimm, Kanoke Jaffe 58, Magnarius. All right, our next caller is almost here. Oh, there they go. All right, caller, welcome to the show. Where are you calling from, and what is your name?
Hello, my name is Miyaour. I'm calling from Syracuse, New York.
From New York.
My take is basically that I feel that the 3-week break could have been used better. I was pretty upset because I felt during the 3-week break there was plenty of opportunity for random things like maybe show matches. We had the FlyQuest thing, but I'm pretty sure that was not organized by Riot. I've had a bunch of things just for fun events where pro players maybe played against fans, or they just had random teams playing against each other, or like literally anything over the break. I felt pretty let down by how there was pretty much nothing.
So your mic, you kind of are getting muffled for some reason. I'm not sure if you are moving your microphone around or something like that. But it sounds like your overall statement is, hey, we had this 3-week break, and I was let down by the lack of content or anything happening during that time. Is that it basically?
Yeah, pretty much. I felt there was a lot of opportunity where we could have done a lot more, and yeah, there was pretty much nothing except for the FlyQuest show match, which was great and had a lot of fun, but more.
You wanted it from Riot? Is that what you were saying? Like Riot organized?
Well, it didn't have to be Riot organized, but I sort of expected Riot to do it. Like the teams also doing it would have been fine.
Here's what I'll say. Shout out to FlyQuest, because from what I understand, the teams were given the opportunity to do stuff during the break, and one team of the 8 decided to do something. And I guess, obviously I know some people might not feel happy with what FlyQuest did, or maybe it was of less interest to them or something like that, but like they fucking did something. Oh yeah, C9 organized some ARAMs with their players on their Discord. I don't know. I just would have liked to have seen, let me put it this way. For a long time, I have heard for many years that teams, maybe Inero will chime in here, have wanted more agency. They want to own more things. They want to be able to put on their own events, and they want to have the players participate in these things. They want to do all this stuff, and they have sort of chaffed against Riot restrictions on this stuff. And I think this was an interesting situation where for months, seemingly, a lot of the teams knew that there was going to be a 3-week break, and then they could have done any number of different things with this time, and then nothing happened other than the FlyQuest thing and some C9 ARAMs. So I don't know. I definitely felt a little jaded with the way that everything was handled during that break, because I do remember at the beginning of the year that even in my interview, Mark had said that they were going to try to figure out some stuff to do during that time, and like I don't really feel like much happened to make it feel like, oh, okay, well, we've got this break is happening, but at least there's this really cool event happening, or we've got this like 1v1 tournament with a bunch of the players, or we've got any number of different stuff happening, and none of that really took place. So I was equally disappointed in that. Caller, I would agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the bigger things is getting talked about in the chat already is that like they couldn't do inter-team stuff. So like who are they going to play if they don't have an academy team that they could play? Like TL could have done one, I guess, you know. But
could they have not done like 1v1s with like a 1v1 tournament all-star style?
Maybe they could have. I will say though, like I don't think a lot of the orgs, at least like I know GG didn't, and from like time talking to other orgs, I don't think these places have a lot of people that are great at like building up people and players to be influencers. Otherwise, like a lot of players would probably have gotten a lot more brand building while being a part of these orgs, even for the short amount of time that they're there. And that's always been something that's lacking. So it's not really going to have like the greatest ideas internally of how to entertain audiences and how to try and like build up things that people will want to watch. I know FlyQuest has people that are either influencers themselves or have more familiarity with working with that. So it's probably a little bit easier for them to organize and think about. They also do still have their academy team, which is going to be helpful. They could just do a simpler one of like, we're just going to play like our teams together. They're both first place. Like that's pretty straightforward to do. So good on them for doing that. But when you look at like the other orgs, like it was something I complained about on GG is that like we want these guys to stream for us, and like that's how we make a good amount of money was from like our Twitch deals. But like we're not doing anything to help them stream or build them up to be influencers, so none of them give a shit.
Yeah, but Nick, I did not need them to do anything to build these guys up to be influencers.
Yeah,
you just
like,
run a
what ideas are they gonna
1v1 tournament on a Sunday.
Oh, congrats! Like that's like fucking nothing. Respectfully, like, do you think they're gonna make that enjoyable to watch? No, it's gonna be a boring slugfest, and it's gonna be shit. Because a lot of the people that are like doing this stuff, like, don't know what to do to like set that up, because the orgs aren't set up to like prioritize that. Like they're set up for like the competition part. Like just realistically, especially like now, they're set up for that. Like some people will have stuff like 100 Thieves and TL. Like I know they have stuff for like merch. And like obviously TL is bigger, so they have a lot more people that can like do stuff there, I'm sure, that are like more well versed in it. But like if you go to Immortals, like Dig and all this, like do you really think they have people?
No, I
that are,
don't
like,
think Immortals or Dig could have
making
done
that?
something like this. But if I was at Team Liquid, I feel like I would have tried to take advantage of the opportunity. I would have tried to build out like a live streamed 1v1s. And you say like it's a slugfest and it's boring, but like All Stars 1v1s have been popular in the past. And if you did a King of the Hill style 1v1 tournament where it's like who's the best player in the LCS, and you get, I don't know, half the players to sign up for it, I feel like that at least that could be interesting and something that people would talk about.
I've also
Maybe. I don't know, but I don't know if they can even play. Like, it's inter team at that point. I know Riot has always had problems with that.
No, Papa
Yeah.
Smithy in the
They
chat
say
said
no.
that they could have played against each other on 1v1s or 2v2s.
Okay, I mean that's fair. They could have done something like that.
I mean,
Just to see.
the other element of it is because for me, like I've always thought about the 1v1 tournaments as well as like the most obvious way to brand build, right? For like any broadcast, because you get the individual players talking to each other, playing 1v1s. So I've always had like this idea of this massive 1v1 tournament that runs alongside the LCS. It's just like a short bit. You do a couple like every day at the end of the show or whatever, and it's just kind of fun, you know. But it just like never goes through, and some of the reasons why I've been told that is that teams are not quote unquote interested in doing it. So that goes back to again Inero's point, which is that teams for whatever reason optimize their staff and pay the staff the most that are quote unquote prioritize winning the game, because that's the only way that orgs historically in LCS have optimized for brand building is, oh, we're just going to win the LCS, which is like a 1 in 10 team gamble. And then again, like during esports winter, some of the first people who get cut are like the brand building side, like the marketing people, the videographers, and granted, like some of those people weren't doing anything anyway, but it also means that it also shows the org's priorities, which doesn't make any sense because again, at the end of the day, we are supposed to produce content to entertain an audience. And I think the biggest problem that like almost everyone in the ecosystem faces is getting the orgs to basically like prioritize the entertainment and the branding of their players and their teams, because it makes way more sense financially, like in theory, right, than just trying to go for, oh, we're going to win worlds, which ends up being a popularity contest roster build anyway. So
I mean, I've been harping on that
that's
for
very
like on
interesting.
the just
Yeah, I
build
know,
brand
yeah,
by
sure.
winning thing is, I mean, that's such a pain in the ass. I think to your other point though about the teams not having the people there, and this is what Inero you were saying as well, to like build out something like this. I think there are a lot of other people who like they could have partnered with a sponsor who could have done something like this. Like, would Red Bull have been down to host something? I mean, this is probably like let's phrase this in a more positive way, right? Which is, what are some of the takeaways or learnings if they have to do another one of these breaks in the future? Because let's be honest, they probably will. I think the mistake here was perhaps Riot pitting this on the teams, which is a little disappointing because I think like the team should be able to take advantage of an opportunity like this. It's like a good opportunity for them, I think, but let's say they don't have the resources to do it. Finding a partner that can do something like this, like Red Bull would be great, or like if you partnered with like Ludwig and Tarek did like a Valorant event right before the Valorant year, right? Like if instead of it being a preview event, you did some sort of 1v1 tournament, maybe Twitch does something like this with Twitch Rivals, where you have all the pro players competing in 1v1s against like streamers and stuff. I think there's an opportunity here to have done something really cool, and I'm hoping that the lesson here is, okay, we can't just sort of shove this over on the teams and be like, let them think about this. I think, the teams had their chance. For the most part, they didn't really take advantage of it. I'm sure they'll complain about it for whatever reason. But like now let's find either like a third-party content group or a sponsor or both to try to make something happen if we do need to do something like this.
I mean, I think that like saying the mistake is like, oh, we gave this to the teams and like 7 out of the 8 teams like pretty much did nothing is just so disheartening, because like I was on the FlyQuest event, right? I had a lot of fun. Like I think that it was a really good setup, and anyone that like actually went to go watch those games participate probably laughed or like saw something funny or stupid, like had a good time at some point. I know that like I will say, like, Riot not only asked the teams to come up with ideas of what to do, but Riot also offered to provide some support. And, like, I think that it's visible in terms of, like, the LCS account was tweeting out the FlyQuest event and helping promote, right? Like, I feel like as a team, by not following up on this, like, you actually dropped the ball on what could, like, potentially be good for your own team and brand to, like, actually build stuff. So, like, just saying that, like, Riot gave everyone an opportunity and then, like, people didn't do anything, so then we shouldn't do that again is just really fucking depressing. Like, if we're gonna be honest about it all, right? Um, Also, I will say that, like, the solutions that LCS came up with, I didn't like. I work Challengers, right? I know that the FlyQuest event ran at the same time as Challengers. I'm okay with that. The week after, they had Kobe and Flowers co-stream NACL, which is cool, right? I think that having those two people, like, bring NACL to viewers is a good idea. That stream was riddled with tech issues early on, and I know from behind the scenes, it was very much set up last second. I think that if they put more time into actually setting that up, involving someone from the actual Challengers broadcast to maybe add some knowledge about, like, hey, here are where the players are at, right? Because I don't expect Flowers or Kobe to follow the league to the degree that me or anyone else in the broadcast, like, that's just not going to happen. Or bring them in for a day and, like, do the main broadcast, right? Like, I think that'd be a really good way to give Challengers a boost. Or put Challengers in the LCS channel if nothing else is on, right? Like, it felt like a real slap in the face to have the Path to LTS channel tweeting just about their co-stream and not us as a caster. And I think that a lot of that was just because it was like put together last second and done in kind of a poor way. And Also, they only streamed the first 2 best of 3s when the last best of 3 was fucking FlyQuest versus Maryville, which are like the best 2 teams that we actually have in the league. It's like they didn't even capitalize off of the fact like we had a really good match. So I don't know. I felt like everything was like there were just a lot of missed opportunities, right? And I think it would have been a good opportunity, like if the LCS teams like they don't have the time or the resources to come up with something and put it on the channel, then you also had a secondary product that could have like really been bolstered, and that was also dropped. The ball on that was dropped on Rise side too. So
all right, we've summoned Jack to the chat, who says teams had very limited time to set something up.
I
How
mean,
much time? How much time did they get?
when did
'Cause
they
I know
know
Riot
about
can be
break?
pretty mad
That's a really good
about it.
question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I could definitely believe Jack, because sometimes Riot will like, oh, by the way, the break is in like 2 weeks or something like that. But if you know the schedule at the start of the season, I feel like you could plan for that in advance. But it could be possible that, like, I could maybe entertain an argument that Riot didn't tell them there was an expectation to make content. But if I am a team looking at, oh, there's a 2 week break, we should use that. Like, the immediate thought should be, we should be using that time to brand build or to do something or to engage our audience. That should be the immediate thought if you know the schedule in advance. So yes, I could kind of like humor the argument that oh, Riot didn't tell us this was the expectation, but it's also just a very lazy argument. So yeah.
Damn, we've got beef starting on the show right now. Getting the viewership up. Okay. Caller, thank you for the call. I think it is true. I think most of us agree that it was pretty disappointing, the way that the break was used. So we are on board with your take. Is there anything that you want to shout out here at the end?
Nothing much. Just thanks for doing the show. Yeah, shout out to you guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good one. All right. Thank you, as Cubby goes off to grab the next caller. Thank you to Magnarius, Jaffe58, Kanoke, Fishy, Mohica, Badger Yar, the one and only Corbin for 2 years, Alesso de Sheep, Swede Be Good, gifting a sub to Ixbix, Ojai Vega, Big Angry Hobo for 69 months. Holy moly. Swede gifted a sub to Kelsey Moser. Again, surprised she's not subbed. Talking Lots, Paying Straub, and Finance Consultant. Thank you over there. And I see a bunch of people on YouTube. We will get to you shortly with the shoutouts. Okay, we got Mikey here. Mikey, where are you calling from?
Calling from Draper, Utah.
Draper, Utah. Not in the middle of nowhere, Utah, like you have in the past. Congratulations on the move to somewhere, Utah. What do you want?
Very good.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
My take is that bvoy has actually been the best AD carry in LCS, and nobody's really talking about it.
Aha. Okay. Do you want to go ahead and elaborate on this?
Yeah. So just to double check, I made sure to look at stats. He's got top 3 KDA, highest CS per minute in the league, highest gold per minute. He has the highest damage share, along with the second highest damage per minute in the league. And the eye test wise, he's got like really clean positioning and team fight awareness most of the time. Like sometimes he has oopsies, but 99% of the time he's been really clean in team fights. And the AD carry pool has just generally been like decent this year. There's not really any stand-up performers. Like the only real argument for other best AD carry in the league would probably be FBI in my opinion, but he's been like really inconsistent in his games, having some huge pop-offs and then having some more quiet games. Tomo, Masu, and Meech have also all been like solid, but I just think bvoy's popped off way harder than they have.
Any thoughts on bvoy, friends?
Travis, I'm gonna be real with you, man. I am not watching the LCS like that at the moment. I'm sorry. I'm not in it. I'm watching LCK and LPL, bro. I'm not watching NA as much except for fun.
I
Why?
thought you were about to say I'm watching
I'm
Valor.
sorry, caller.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
really quickly, I
can't
wanna
say
ask-
that you're right or wrong, so I'll agree with you and say you're right.
So,
Perfect.
I agree with.
out of curiosity, why?
Why would I?
Why would you watch
This is the
Because
real
LCS?
we're watching LCK and LPL. What's the benefit of watching it over that? Other than just like watching my friends, which I'll do. Like I'll watch like 100 Thieves in Energy.
I mean, the benefit
Like-
arguably would be if you're planning to come back and GM or coach again. You know who performed well, right? I guess,
Yeah.
but there's always like the crunch VOD review at the end, and there's not really a reason to watch live at that point.
Yeah.
So
I'm also not sure if I'm planning to do that really. So it's like
that's the
I'm looking for VODs to help our team, if anything, or to learn from there. I'm not necessarily watching NA to learn from it. Respectfully, I watch it for fun sometimes.
What
That's
about
really it.
the
Sorry, man.
first on each patch, Inero? Isn't that helpful?
First on each patch? Hell yeah. That's cool, I guess. That's same for us. So I'm just going to see what we're scrimming on, because traditionally, to be honest with you, Academy's always been ahead of LCS on what's the meta
Yep.
stuff
Yeah.
to get played. So like,
absolutely.
because it's players
Watch
willing to
anything
actually play new stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Travis. Apologies.
No. You do not need to apologize to me. I think it's like it is representative of, I think, a lot of. I think, okay, earlier today we were talking about, or tonight we were talking about the idea of like people are assuming that Riot feels like the esports viewer for League of Legends is dying in North America, right? And I think there's an interesting question, not to go off on too much of a tangent here, of like, what if there's a lot of esports viewers in North America, they're just watching other leagues, like they just are not watching LCS, because for many years LCS did not give good reasons to watch it, and actively did things to dissuade North American viewership, like the time and dates for LCS on Thursdays and Fridays and that type of thing. So I just think it's interesting that now we've lost you too, in one sense.
Like, NA viewers have like a motivation to watch it at least, and that it can be like enjoyable to watch the region do well. Like, I'm working in it. I don't care. I don't care about the LCS and like what's happening there. Like, it's not important to me. It's important to like help, in this case, like I'm helping the academy team and academy players, and just trying to stay like up to date on like what the rest of the world is like doing, that's like ahead of everything on strategy with what to do. So I'm watching that instead. I'm not a for fun watcher, really. Like, so for me, if I'm watching LCS, like it's for fun, so I'll do it occasionally, but I'm not gonna go watch every single game to have like an educated opinion on the for fun league that I'm watching, So
At
also,
least-
yeah, sorry for the negative take. It's not meant to be negative. I was just trying to say I don't watch it. Sorry.
It's not meant to be negative. He
Apologies.
says after, there's no point for me to watch LCS. I don't care about
'Cause
LCS.
You asked me why. It's
I did. Yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair.
It's
I
a fun
I don't
reason.
mind you being honest, but when at the end of it you go, yeah, sorry for the negative take, not meant to be negative. I'm like, damn, you just blasted out a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be negative though, because if you just embrace that it is indeed a for fun region, I think the viewing experience does become more entertaining, right? If we stop trying to pretend that, oh my god, LCS is like high level competition, it's so insane. It's like, no, just have a fun time, enjoy the cage matches, like watch it casually with a friend, laugh about random stuff that happens. Like, that's actually just a way more entertaining experience, and it's a better way to frame the product than, oh my god, the highest level players are going at it to pull the Baron 30 times this game in the next 5 minutes. Yes, let's go. No one's taking it. Everyone's wiping each other. But this is the highest level of play possible. We're definitely going to learn from this and teach future generations. Like, if you don't have that take, it actually is just like, watch it for fun. It is a fun league. The games are fun.
I
Kelsey,
like that the
Agree with that.
LCS can usually be won by an LCS team. So that's cool.
Kelsey,
Yeah.
what do you
Let's
What
talk
do you
about
think of
Chat.
bvoy?
Since we took
have
the
you watched
takeaway
enough
from that.
bvoy games to form an opinion on
What do I
bvoy?
think of bvoy? I mean, I disagree. I disagree with the take. I think that AD is in a very weird spot. I think part of the reason why bvoy looks good is because for a lot of the season, they were on some, like, Spotify was on like some weird drafts where it was like, all right, you have double tank solos and we're putting all the resources on AD and AD has to carry. And that's why bvoy looks better, whereas like most teams are winning, having more holistic comps, prioritizing like Senna and stuff like that. I also do think Xayah is a champion that he's played quite a bit, and Xayah is a champion where you definitely have the opportunity to have those pop-up moments and look really good. So for me, I'm not like really on the bvoy train. I feel like we've had really good performances out of players like Meech. I think Berserker in fights is still like really nice, laning aside. You definitely have like really good laning performance coming out of Tomo and Isles. They've just been on the smolder shit, you know. Like Masu has been a standout for me still. I'm actually impressed by how well Masu has done in general. Tactical, if I wanted to go for like someone on a lower tier team, I think has been exceptionally good. And I think like Shopify, the way that their team drafts and the way they set up is intentionally set up to make bvoy look really strong. And that's why he stands out more.
That makes sense.
I think the biggest argument for bvoy would be that the pieces around him may not be as strong as some other teams. Like I know that he's getting a lot of the resources, but I think the top side, like Insanity for me has been playing well this split, but I think Fake Out and Boogie are like on the lower end, the top sides for me. So I think that could be the biggest argument for bvoy, but I am gonna take other ADs over him. I think for me the AD standouts have been probably FBI Meech. I've really liked how Meech played this past week. I know I thought that he actually had his best week. Just going through the tape earlier, and I probably give FBI the nod if I had to give like a strongest performer. But I agree. I think AD is like I can agree with Kelsey in that it's a deep pool and kind of in a weird spot right now. And I pulled this question because like I was like, man, like it is kind of hard to find like a single AD that's like really standing out. Like it really felt like you had to beat Berserker to beat C9 last split, and that was really hard to do, right? Um, but I don't get the feeling with AD and just where it's at this split, and it kind of is weird to like see how everyone else is kind of playing around that. Like I think a lot of people have different opinions right now on which ADs are good, and I definitely think that's like just the meta and the fact that like I think ADs have been better than serviceable this split like as a whole. So yeah.
Well, there you go. Okay, so are you on or off the bvoy train, Cubby?
I'd probably put bvoy in terms of like performing ADs like 3, 4, or 5 if I had to like list it. So I think he's been good, but I don't have him as my top performing AD.
All right, there you go, Mikey. What do you think?
I think the point Kelsey brought up about drafts is probably a pretty good one because Insanity was playing tank duty for quite some time, so they had like the 1 damage threat or whatever.
Yeah. Well, anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, shout out FlyQuest Demonte now. That's my first FlyQuest Demonte shout out. Join his Discord. He's really cool.
He's got a Discord?
Yeah, you should join it.
Are
Send
you not
me
in
an
there?
invite. No,
Oh,
I'm not
man.
in Tanner's Discord. I'll go in there and shitpost. I'll make
Yeah.
fun of Tanner DeMonte.
Yeah,
So the most excited I've seen Inero all episode. All right, thank you for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep, sure thing. Bye.
All right. Let's see. Cubby, you want to go grab the next caller?
Mm-hmm.
So over on YouTube, I want to thank the Big Angry Hobo for 6 months over there. It's on both channels. They've popped off. Bug Juice Reviews for 6 months as well. Simon Vaughn. Jeremy for the $10 super chat. Poison Ivy for 18 months. And then John for the $20 super chat. Thank you all for the support. Sorry that it took a little bit to get back to you all on the support, but thank you for that. On the other hand, we have our next caller here who is BB. BB, where are you calling from?
Hello. I'm in the United Kingdom.
In
It's
the United
4:30.
Kingdom. What time is it?
Yeah, 4:30 in the morning.
4:30 in the morning. My God. Well, thank you for staying up to call into the show. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so my take is that G2, and I guess I threw CNN in there too, this is their best chance to win an international tournament, given how weak the other regions look.
Ooh, okay. So Nero can now chime in on this. So why do you think that this is the best chance for G2 and C9?
Yeah, so I watch like LCK religiously. I literally never miss a match, and I haven't for like years. And I think this is the first time that it's just looked like Like nobody looks consistently really good except T1 and Gen G. But I guess my solution to that is that they have drawn each other a few times in international tournaments, so maybe one of them can go. But like nobody else outside of those two teams looks any good. And even like G2, like they lost to KT, who I think looks horrible. T1 are dropping games to like Nongshim. Like I don't think they look super unbeatable. And then like the LPL is like a dumpster fire. Like I don't think anybody looks good in the LPL. Like BLG have a good record, but they're just playing against like really bad teams and like nobody's looking consistent. Whereas you have like G2 who have it all put together. Like sure they dropped games as well, but like that's how it goes. But G2 like really steady, and I think the way that they're drafting is something that people have spoken about in length for years about how if you want to beat Korean and Chinese teams, you're not going to do it by matching Azure lane and outlaning Chovy. Like you're not going to outlane Faker, right? You're going to do it by picking these wombo combos. You're going to pick it by playing these like super high momentum drafts, and G2 were like so good at that.
And we should just reference by the fact that you've already awarded C9 the spring finals championship.
Okay, this is basically my take is basically it's G2's chance to try and win an international tournament, but I'm a huge C9 fan, so
and you're trying to get your take on the LCS show, so you're laundering a G2 take through C9 onto the Hotline League. I see the strategy.
It's exactly that.
Okay.
So just to counter that, just as for fun, to play devil's advocate, what do you think of the opinion that also LEC has been incredibly weak compared to normal? Because if everywhere is all shit and weak, like is what's getting said.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
Is it just because we're all bad now?
Yeah, I totally agree. LEC looks so bad. I actually don't watch LEC, but I've heard that it's like incredibly bad. But yeah, I think it's similar to like T1 and Gen G, right? Like T1 and Gen G can both look exceptionally good, even though the competition they're playing against is like way below average than they would be used to. I think the same applies for G2. It's all relative, right? Like I'm not saying that if Hanwha were in LEC, like they probably would lose a game. But it's like sure G2 are playing against like teams that look really horrible, but you just beat whoever they put in front of you, right? And they look really good against those teams.
I respect. So we're on the full EU copium. We haven't really watched them that much for the others. We've been watching LCK, LPL religiously. I fuck with that then. I agree. This is our year. This is our fucking year, man. Let's fucking go. I'm in.
I don't watch it, but this is our year. Best day.
Kelsey, I mean, is this the best chance that the West has had in a long time?
But I guess the one thing I bring up when this topic comes up, well, I guess two things. One is it's spring. Everyone looks shit in spring. That's like inevitable because everyone feels compelled to rebuild the entire roster every split, every season because why not? And then the other element of it is like I do think English language speaking analysis is very biased towards macro is sick. Look at the rotations. Look at them not fight each other and move around the map so cleanly. Oh my god, this game is so high level. And that's why LPL like consistently at international tournaments, the predictions are that LPL is losing to LCK. But if you do break down like how they're approaching certain fights, certain objective control, like the way that there's still like a lot of good things happening in LPL. And LPL, like I feel like JDG just ruined almost all LPL narratives because JDG was like the exception, dominant team, dominant like almost the whole year. That's actually pretty rare for LPL. There's usually like a lot of random shit happening. And so like I guess from my perspective, like I see a lot of comments dismissing LPL and I co-stream it, and you could say I'm taking it personally, but I hear this take literally every year, and it's definitely a byproduct of like the whole like original Monte Cristo. Oh my god, I can't believe people just fight them. Why are they just fighting? Like this type of thing that's kind of been pervasive year after year after year in English language discourse. So yeah.
Well, so it sounds like you don't agree with the take, Kelsey.
It's just completely well argued. It's inarguable. So
the West is doomed at international events. Is there any merit to it whatsoever? Is there any chance that like this year is slightly more like that things are a little bit more wonky, or you just think this is the same thing every year?
I've actually also been a big proponent of LEC because I think that there's a lot of things that those teams are doing well on an individual level. Like I actually think like some top LEC teams are the first one to kind of play sidelines really well on the new map. So there's still like a lot of good things that are happening in LEC. I wouldn't say it's like the best chance they've ever had. I think you have to give that to 2019 still, but it's like I don't think it's a terrible chance. Like I think there's merit to his argument, even if he didn't put it like it didn't make it completely concretely. So that's about it.
I mean, like when those like 2018, 2019, G2 Fnatic teams were going to those international events, they were considered not like the favorite, but a favorite, right? Like I clearly remember the MSI that G2 won. Like everyone was going into the event like, hey, G2 can win this, right? I think if we're using like, hey, everyone's bad right now, so therefore maybe G2 can win again. I don't agree with that. I think that the biggest advantage that any team in the West has is that pretty much the same game of League of Legends has been played for the last 3-4 years, and the new map changes and the grubs coming in at least change up some of that, right? I think that in terms of like, I would agree with Inero. Like I catch more LCK than LPL, but LCK is my most watched league outside of LCS and Challengers, which I consider my job, which is why I watch those the most. And those teams are
Not 'cause you like them.
ahead of the curve.
I love that you had to caveat that. You're like, it's my job.
It's
That's
still my
why I
job.
watch those the most.
Yeah.
You guys all have such shame at the idea of
proud of doing
ever
our
wanting
job,
to watch the
Travis.
LCS.
This is
No, it's
the English
kind of
language
work.
discourse, It's not cool to have fun watching League of Legends, Travis. It has to be super serious and very analytical, okay?
Yeah. I think that like Korea is, and like the top LPL teams are still ahead of the curve. And if I had to power rank G2 across like all the teams in the world, they aren't cracking my top 5, and I don't know if they even crack my top 10 still. So, yeah, I think that it's going to be a really tough road for any Western team going to MSI, even with the game changing a lot. So, yeah.
Caller, do you have any rebuttal to any of this? You've just gotten wrecked across
Yeah,
the
I'm
board here.
getting ganked over here.
Yeah.
What do you
I
mean?
think
I agreed, Travis.
You agreed sarcastically, Nick.
Give us the
No,
hopium.
I'm fully on fucking board.
I
This is
even
our
said
year.
there was merit, even if you didn't argue your point well. I think there's like some LEC merit, yeah.
I think one thing that I will say is that for a long time, people have been waiting to see when will the West rise to the occasion and get as good as the Asian teams. But I think right now the Asian teams are getting as bad as the Western teams. So it's a level playing field, just not the way that we would have wanted it. But I think we're getting there. They're coming to us. We don't have to get better; they'll just get worse.
Fantastic. That's competitively legends. Okay. Thank you so much, BB. Anything you want to shout out here?
No, that's okay. Just thanks for the time.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Bye.
I also love one of my favorite things about this episode is that for those of you that don't watch live, in Twitch chat, very frequently, Kelsey and Inero are shitposting. They are both on this episode, and they are just shitposting about as much, if not more, in Twitch chat than they do whenever we have any regular episode going. So it's just impressive to me that they're multitasking this well. Good job, guys.
I like
Thanks,
the
Travis.
Fast and the Furious sequel. I've watched them. I that's all I'll say, Kelsey.
No,
Oh
I'm saying like we can rebrand. We're the Fast and the Furious of League of Legends. We're just there's no actual film merit to Fast and the Furious, but it is always a fun time.
No, we
Christopher
do it 'cause it
Nolan
makes
said he loved them.
billions of dollars overseas, which is honestly looking at NA LCS viewership numbers. It might be why we do it now, Kelsey.
My God. All right. Hey, by the way, I don't know if we're going to talk about this at all on the episode, but like, from my understanding, viewership was pretty flat from week 4 to week 5. And not saying that we all need to like pat ourselves on the back about the fact that like LCS viewership didn't go down, but I'll just say it was not what I expected. I thought that viewership would be down between week 4 and week 5, given the giant break, and us being in the broom closet. But I was impressed that it was about the same. So
drops plus Twitch front page being said, and I agree. I didn't get any skin drops, but I did have that client open. So
I got a drop.
whoa, what'd you get?
Funny enough.
What'd you get?
You don't watch
Got, like, a
LCS. How did you get a drop?
Oh, I left that shit open.
Yeah.
For the
You
drop?
don't think I'm gonna take free stuff, Travis? It's crazy.
Okay, so now you have a reason to watch the LCS. So that's the secret. You don't watch LCS. You said you have no reason. But if you can get a free skin, then you'll just leave it open. So you do have a reason.
The longtime fans come back for the drops, you know?
Oh my god. Okay, never
just
mind. I
thought
take
was
it all
funny.
back.
Everyone was complaining about drops, and I managed to get one.
You know, it's funny
Crazy.
because I feel like normally, lately, I have had a reputation for the past couple of years as being the person who is like negative on this show about the LCS, and I'm spending a lot of time being like, oh, I wish Riot would do this, I wish whatever, or frustrated about all these different things. This episode, I am trying to find any silver lining amidst just a flurry of aggression, and even when I'm like, by the way, viewership didn't go down, Papa Smithy in the chat is like, yeah, drops a Twitch front page, and Arrow's like, yeah, I got that shit. It's just, I'm doing my best to stand on the other side of the scale for once.
But why is that? I mean, okay, it's a negative thing because we have to rely on it, but also, why don't we rely on it? That should just be normalized. We should always have drops. We should always be like leveraging the wider esports community. That should just be normal operating behavior, right?
Bring back being able to spectate valuable games in the client. I used to brag to my friends, or like would like screenshot them like being in like the high level challenger games in the client. I think that was cool.
Wait, that's a different thing you're talking about, Cubby. You're just talking about...
we got to use all the resources. You got to leverage the client. That's the biggest resource.
I see. Okay.
Cubby just skipped like 5 logic points. He's too ahead.
All right.
I just wanted to hop in anyway.
Tbone is here. Tbone, where are you calling from?
Calling from Long Island.
Calling from Long Island. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I've had this opinion for like years now, but I just think the LCS should ditch Spring Split for the upcoming years.
Wait, didn't we just? Oh wait, this is different than the earlier caller.
I hope so.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Where instead of like during the Spring Split time span, so LLA and CBLOL would also abandon their Spring Splits and just have a huge tournament of Americas where it would just be the 3 leagues competing. I don't know what the format would be. I don't know.
What if they just got rid of LCS and did a giant Americas region?
I would be less in favor of that personally, because I feel like at the end of the day, like the only event that really matters in LoL esports right now, at least for the Western regions, is Worlds. So you could still have a summer split where LCS competes against LCS so that you could figure out what the world seeding is, and you keep that kind of regional spirit alive, even though it kind of is on life support right now. But the cool thing about having a tournament of Americas is that you still have that regional pride. The LCS actually has a chance at winning something. I think Brazil is one of the biggest growing leagues in terms of growth. And it would also, a cool side effect of it would be is that like you get to see metas get created on, you know, in the Americas, because like, let's say like a Brazilian team randomly just starts only playing juggernauts or something. And so instead of LCS having to just only emulate Korea, they would actually have to try to combat the metas being created in LLA and CBLOL.
Well, I think you're going to get your Americas thing eventually.
Probably.
Just maybe not in the way that you're looking for it. But yeah, doing the get rid of spring, do a tournament, do like summer, just having more like different types of tournaments. Riot has definitely been given that before. I've hit them with the exact same thing. I don't know if it's ever going to get to that, but I agree with you that type of thing would be good. And it kind of ties in, and Travis, why I think you thought we already like heard this before, because I mentioned it when the other caller said like doing one big long season is like, I've hit him with like doing one actual season and then just tournaments before, which I know other people have all done the same. So
no, I thought that the caller was saying like get rid of spring finals and just make one split. I didn't realize I cut him off before they got to the Americas thing. Here's Tbone. Here's my expectation is that if Riot's going to do that, they're just going to merge Americas. Which it's funny, nobody commented on my like post-credit scene on the video that I did about best of 3, there was like a post-credit scene there about America's League. Like I maybe I should just do a dedicated video about it, but I think that like it is far more likely that Riot just merges the regions at this point in time than they do something like what you are suggesting, because I think Riot seems to think like everything that they do in Valorant is, I think, what they wish they could do in League, or what they wish they had done in League. And Valorant is an America's region. There's no North American region for those that don't follow Val. There's like Americas, and it is all these regions kind of compressed together. And I think that if you look at the way that they have been slowly merging regions together, there used to be 16 regions, I think it was, maybe 12 or something.
I think it got up to 17 and it's down to 13 now.
Is it down to 13? Might be
Maybe.
down to even less. I don't know.
CIS.
Are you going to name 13 regions right now? My God.
No, the ones they removed: CIS, Oceanic, the combined, the Taiwanese or the PCS is like a combined region now. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Well, regardless, I
Yeah.
think it is more
Oceanic.
likely that they would do like an America's League than an America's tournament. I do like yours though, Tbone. Here, rather than just being meh, I'll say I think yours is an interesting way to combine the goals, right? Personally, I would like to see LCS continue to exist in some form or another over the next, I don't know, however many years, right? I also am not against the idea of seeing more regional play, though the issue that I have is like LCS has already shit in these other regions for the most part. So like I don't know if you really did this type of tournament, like if it would be anything other than LCS just dominating or something. But I think it is like an interesting way to kind of mix stuff together. And the nice thing for Riot is that theoretically there is some cost savings there, where instead of operating these 3 different leagues over the course of half a year, you are operating only one tournament over half the year, and then you go back to separate leagues afterwards. So I actually, you know what, I'll give your take a thumbs up. I like that. I think that's good. I don't know if any of you have thoughts.
I'm down. More tournaments and majors. Majors the best format. Golf got it right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Or return to OGN format.
I definitely like it because it's a balance, because I think one thing when people always talk about combining the regions is, in a way, it's kind of like CBLOL doing us a favor if they combine the regions, because CBLOL, like as far as I know, their viewership does better, their fan engagement does very well, things like that, and then it's just they're basically just volunteering their favorite teams to come in and lose to NA teams. I mean, over time, probably the parity will change, and you'll get like some upsets, but it's definitely one of those things where it feels like they're doing us in some ways a favor if you combine it. Whereas if you're just having like a big kind of major or a bunch of tournaments at the start and then regions go back to their isolated play, I think that's a better way to approach it, in my opinion. So yeah, who can see? We'll see.
Would you like that, Inero?
Yeah, it'd be fine, but I wouldn't want it to be like combining the leagues to do a tournament. Yes, combining the leagues to just be the same like season and league. No, I think that would be horrible.
Yeah,
but I think that's what we're getting anyways. So get ready, enjoy.
Yeah, I think CBLOL viewership is like the one thing that's like actually delaying it.
Oh, really? You think they don't want to do it because CBLOL viewership is so good?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
why would you combine the products? You have one that's like actually growing, and then one that's, yeah, it's very interesting. It's like definitely a save
I mean, you
LCS
combine the
type of
products
move.
because you think you can save money doing so.
Yeah, that would be the idea, right? But it's
And I
like,
don't know if you're aware of Riot's sort of
there's
budgetary.
definitely a sunk cost fallacy argument, right? Like, I guess the very negative take is just kill LCS.
They can all move to LA, Travis,
yeah.
and make a ton of money and save a lot of money out here, because LA is a very affordable city to live
Well,
in.
that's the question.
Yes.
Like,
That's
it's
a
very
good
funny
question.
because if
Where
they
is it
want,
based, right?
what'd you say,
Yeah.
Kelsey?
That's my biggest question is like, where is the league going to be based if it's combined Americas? Because I think
Yeah.
definitely the being in LA and operation costs being expensive in LA is going to continuously come up, but Riot is also just based in LA, so
Can we just go remote? Finally, can we just go remote and travel to places for fun? This week we're playing at the LCS studio. This week we're at the HyperX Arena in Vegas. This week we're playing at some fucking college. We're playing in Maryville or something.
That's not going remote, Inero.
Yeah, but you just fucking travel or something instead, or just do most of your major things remote. I don't know. Like, it's the same 20 people at the LCS Arena every weekend anyways, no?
You haven't been there this year, I don't think, because it's definitely more than 20 people.
Oh, my bad. I'm bad at counting, Travis.
It sells out every week.
I'm 30 going senile. Forgive me, man.
Now, I'll be honest. This week, there were less than 20 people at the LCS Arena. So.
This week, I don't think there were people allowed in the arena.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, actually, no, I take that back. There were 200. They were just watching a different game. So,
my bad.
But
my fault.
But yeah, no, it is a fascinating. It's a very fascinating thing if they do this America's League, because like, are you truly saving money if you move all this Brazil stuff to LA? Are you actually cutting down on costs by merging these things together, or are you increasing your costs by like bringing whatever is in CB law that would need to move to LA, which everybody already talks about being so expensive? So
Travis, you're thinking about it wrong. What if we move the LCS to Sao Paulo?
I know. So like that would be interesting. I don't know. Like, would I want to live in Brazil for a couple of years? Maybe. I did like Rio when I went there one time, so maybe my cost of living much better. You know what? I'm on board with this. I'm going to Brazil.
Okay.
I feel like
I'm also going to Brazil. Thanks.
I'll figure out the logistics later. I'm going.
Yeah. Kobe and I will live together in Brazil. We'll just move and live there instead. Still no Catt,
listening to takes and reasoning it out. I like it.
Okay. Thank you, Tbone, for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
I want to shout out Mark Zimmerman. Watch this take, please. Thank you, Kamish.
You think he watches the show anymore? He watches the show as much as Inero watches LCS. He's like, why would I watch it? The same way Inero thinks, why would I watch LCS? All right.
It's not my show anymore.
I like how you've just extrapolated me saying I don't watch it enough to say whether you guys top 3 to I just don't watch it.
That's what you said. You said you don't watch it.
Energy. I don't watch all of it. I watch my friends play. I watch the people I care about play. I don't want to go watch random team number 7 play versus team number 6. I don't care.
Is Shopify Rebellion random team number 7?
Yes.
I mean, I agree with you. By the way,
they are 7th as well. I'm pretty sure. No.
Yes, I kind of agree. Mark Zimmerman in the chat. I watched the show, but to be honest, kind of regretting it. Okay, let's move on. Thank you so much. Oh wait, we got Russ here. Russ, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Russ, as you've mentioned, and I'm calling from Toronto, Canada.
From Toronto, Canada. You're a little quiet if you can get closer to your mic. I turned you up to max, but what do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so my take is that, I think TL, this is not just like a knee-jerk reaction to this week's games or anything, but I think for the next upcoming split, they need to, seriously think about replacing their AD carry and mid lane position players. If they get eliminated in the first round of playoffs, I think that's probably the cutoff for them to make the change. And I think if they do make pretty decent upgrades, they can make a solid run for a 3rd or 2nd place world spot for summer split. And yeah, that's just the initial take, but I can expand on it if you want.
What change would you like to see?
So, I guess the team is predominantly Korean, and they do have a import slot, although I'm not a big fan of imports myself. I think it just makes sense for this team to import mid lane.
You sound like a LCS GM. Yeah, well, we'd love to play a North American player, but I think for our team specifically, we got to do it. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Any decent import, I think, for mid would work, and then
Any
80
decent
carry.
import.
And for 80 carry, I mean, Sven is there. That's probably the best option, but maybe you could also look around. Maybe EU, the ERLs have some good spots. I know Kim Down is doing pretty good as well, like just eye test wise in the Challengers League. And I think, yeah, mid, I'm thinking probably just a Korean import. Yeah.
But not Rummer. If you do watch Challengers League.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, I want to
I saw
ask.
Kobe's face. I
Actually,
saw
you
Kobe's face.
you three are the best to ask this. Okay, so this past weekend, I was talking to somebody, and we were discussing mid stuff. And the topic of APA came up, and there was a conversation about like if TL would decide to replace APA, could they do it with a player like a domestic player? And somebody turned to me and said, like, who's good? What mid laners are good that are not in the LCS right now? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have a good answer. So I'm curious for the three of you, if you feel as though any mid laners right now would be an upgrade over APA, or just in general, if there are like some really great mid laners hanging out in the NACL.
Quad is really good right now.
So we have an import in
yeah,
Academy.
we do have an import in Catt. Quad's really good right now. I think Quad would be an upgrade for multiple teams in the LCS. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the main thing is that the main issue I have with this take is it is legit just framed with get a random import. Like that's the thing that drives me the most insane about takes like this is the assumption that just getting a random import is always going to be better than actually doing due diligence and like watching VODs and finding someone. If you gave me a name, right, I'd maybe entertain it, right? If you gave me a name, I'd be chill. I'd be fine. Like at least you've done some research, you have someone in mind, but you're literally just like get a random import, get this guy out of here.
Okay,
That's the stuff that drives me insane.
Kelsey.
I can't handle it.
This is how I feel when you all say, I don't want Skype. And then I say, what should I use? And you say, I don't care. Just get another piece of software. And then I just don't give a shit. Like, isn't the caller just...
I didn't say replace Skype. I just said I don't use it anymore.
I know, but this Inero was the one that was saying it's not his job.
It's like making fun of you, Travis. I like being a dick. It's fun. It's enjoyable sometimes.
It's just crazy to me because I feel like TL actually did that already, right? They got a random import. His name is Romer. He's in Academy right now. And there's, for me, like the biggest thing with TL is I think the way the roster was put together in general is flawed. And everyone auto points to Miyaour and APA because they are not the imports. So it can't possibly be because of the imports, but like they didn't get a sick carry player in top or jungle or anything like that. They basically just got like they didn't think very logistically about how the roster was put together. A lot of mistakes APA made this week were very typical like rookie mid mistakes in my opinion, and it's just like, all right, let's get him out. Let's get another Korean. Seems good, and that's like the narrative that I really get annoyed by because it's like at least have a name in mind, right? And obviously Cubby gave one, Cape Quad. I think if you like even look in NACL, there are mids other than Quad. Obviously, like Spyrax is still doing his education issue. I think there are mids like basically that are still functional within the league that are doing pretty decently, that are like worth a shot. Like in NACL that are, but they're still going to be rookies, right? So the question, the biggest issue I have is like we had this weird lost generation of NA mids who all decided to go back to school and commit to their education.
Yeah.
Like people like Copy, people like Spyrax. So mid does become like a big question mark. But like the solution then is not, okay, let's just get a random Korean instead of looking at the talent pool we have and seeing if we can either bring up players or bring players that are already here and who could do well.
Okay, right? But that was my question, Kelsey. My question was, are there players here that we can do this with?
And I think so, but they're going to be rookies, so I guess people are probably going to assume that they're immediately not good. Like, I think Young, who's on Inero's team, has had, like, a great season, for example. Like, he's an option. There's a lot of, like, options that are functional that I think would do well, but they would still make rookie mistakes, and the community would still flame them because there's a big issue with how the roster on TL is put together in general. So yeah,
I think that they should make. I think there's any mids you go after like Spirax. Like I think is also really good in my opinion, and has been like he got one game it was last year that he got, which is like not really a good way to get experience, but time on stage would help him. I think their change should be different, at least if they're down the route of they're going to keep umpty, and they're going to have like core JJ, and they're going to have like this Korean core in jungle and support. They probably want a Korean mid, to be honest. Like it's going to be easier to like have at least find common ground of a culture in a team. Like that was ultimately what GG was, where we had Korean mid jungle support. It was easier to set up around that. They're going to be talking the most to each other the entire game, so it makes sense. Current, it's UMT, Core JJ, talking to APA. Like obviously, like I know they can all speak English, but it's just going to be different. It's like different culture. It's going to be slightly different, and it's not going to be as natural. If they're going to stick down that route, I would say like the unpopular opinion would probably be to, instead of having Impact, get Licorice instead and get a Korean mid and stick with Yeon, and that would probably work better for them, and is more like it's more of a move I think TL would make rather than going for like to put in another rookie in there, and would honestly I think not be bad for them overall. Just because
I just feel like
floating around there.
I can't imagine they don't. I feel like they don't make those types of moves. They replace players that they think are underperforming. They don't make moves with players that they are happy with.
But they would be replacing a player that's underperforming. And like if we're looking at what the community, like everyone is like saying like, oh, target APA on this. Like they are replacing that, and they're doing it to like free up like a slot,
Yeah, I was more talking about.
Actually, do they even have? They have an import slot. Oh, never mind. Then they don't even have to change anyone. They could just get a Korean import. Like it's probably the easiest thing to do and keep Yeon. I don't think they need to replace both. But like, if you're trying to go the full Korean route, then like you can just commit to that and do it. You can try that again. Whatever, you can. That'd be fine. I think honestly, the thing that's like weird to me about that roster, and I honestly still find kind of funny, is because River wanted to join them, and we were trying to give River to them. And they didn't want him, which is funny. They ended up with this instead. They also offered Licorice. Licorice wanted to play there. They didn't want him.
That's
so
too bad.
That's kind of
River only might be the MVP
tragic.
of the split. That's
It's kind of tragic. I think it could have been good personally, in my opinion, but it's chill. Guess, River also works really well with rookies too. Like he is so fucking good to work with people like that, which is probably why he's having a lot of success at 100 Thieves. So. Tragic for them.
River was great last year as well. Mikey was, I was a big JoJo MVP advocate, but he was like my second choice. So, I think for me, River was really good, and I think my biggest issue with all of this is like, yes, at this point, like you salvage it, you try to make the roster work as best as you can, but my biggest problem is like the original experiment in conception of let's just get whatever Koreans we can and put a team together and not actually think about how the roster will function. This started like at the start of last year, was already demonstrably a failure, and then now we're like on a like kind of having to still deal with the repercussions of it, and a lot of it is just okay, roster's underperforming, who do we get out? The most convenient person to kick out is the player that we brought in last split, who ended up turning things around for us. And like to me, that's a little unfortunate because it ends up being a situation where fans and players are paying for like poor management roster building decisions in the first place, right? So that's my biggest issue with it.
Hotline League community is always down on non-NA players. It's why I barely watch anymore. TBH, says Art Vandeling. Listen, community callers. We're losing Art Vandeling to your negativity about non-North American players because you're all anti-non-North American players. We need you.
Are we?
All become. According to Art Vandeling.
We all said quad. We also said this. I'm anti looking at people by their nationality and reducing them to only that in terms of their league skill. That is what I am anti.
Yeah. I don't know. Also Art Vandelay. That's a great Seinfeld reference. So anyone gets that, hopefully, I appreciate that name. I don't know. I feel like TL they likely make changes. I don't know which way they go though. And I think that like there are mids in the ecosystem that they could pick up over APA, but I think that part of why I like the initial TL roster is that they talked about how much they really valued hard work, and I feel like APA and Yawn were always like two of the harder workers in the ecosystem. Obviously, you got to perform too. But I was actually really happy that they stuck with them, just knowing like all the time, especially like both those guys put in an absurd amount of games in solo queue and outside of league, just like scrims and everything too. So I was really happy when TL stuck with them because I felt like it was kind of a nod towards what they preach on the inside. And I don't know. I feel like you would be giving APA less than a year, and I think that Yawn is. I wouldn't change Yawn. I think that Yawn is like pretty sound. Like he's not the best AD in the league. He's not the worst AD in the league, and I think that Yawn can continue to grow. So
you make no changes. It sounds like, Cubby.
Doesn't it sound like he's like ready to make a change? Like this person's on the hot seat. Isn't that what he was saying?
He's looking right now. It seems like he doesn't want to make changes, even though he's hedging because he's like it seems like Team Liquid will make a change, but also here's the reasons why they shouldn't. And so I'm like, are you not changing or are you changing?
I mean, I think that if Quad's available, it's an upgrade. So if they want to make that move, I don't know who else in the ecosystem like besides APA would be an upgrade. And I say that more as a nod to how good Quad is playing. And again, I feel like Quad would upgrade mid for almost half the teams in the league. So Quad has been really good in that league.
I would just say, like, we're not going to know what APA is like internally, really at all. He's gotten a year at this point. They'll know. If they drop him after the split, then, like, clearly it's just not working, regardless of how, like, hard he works.
Yeah.
But, like, those guys do work really hard. Those guys are fucking grinders, which I respect, because that's usually the biggest thing you run into, at least in NA, is that people aren't grinders, and it's a pain in the ass to kind of work with at the pro level. So respect to those guys, but I think it would probably be a case of like APA I would think work better on a different team than that one. In my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, like the biggest issue is that probably means he's not going to get an opportunity, right? I will say, like, just echoing what Inero and Cubby have said, I've talked to and just like had conversations with on coaching sessions, casually, whatever. A lot of like NA players, and for sure Yawn and APA always stood out as like some of the people who put the most work in, and I think that was a big reason why they got opportunities in the TL org. So yeah, it would be very interesting to see what ends up happening. I feel like the best option is to just blow up the roster and rebuild like one or two pieces that you really want to keep and then go forward. Like conceptualize the TL roster is probably the best option at this point from my perspective. I don't know which ones you take, but that's also not something you do between spring and summer typically. That's typically an end of the year kind of thing. So we'll see what happens in the meantime.
Yeah. I'm very curious if Cora will play next year if Team Liquid continues to be pretty mid this year. Like, I want, just in general, not even just for Team Liquid, I just wonder.
Why is that, Travis?
What?
What's your opinion on Core? Why are you a Core hater? Do you think it's because they'll get rid of him, or you think he retires?
Do you think I'm a Core hater?
I don't know. I just want you to expand more on your thoughts here, Travis.
Okay. I think that over the last several years, we have seen a lot of veterans depart from the LCS. I think that has only accelerated at a time in which we've seen less spots available to those players and players in general, and we've seen salaries decrease. And so I think that there's already like a baseline where a player like Core, it is somewhat surprising that he has continued to play. I think he has continued to play in part because he does actually give a shit about the space and he likes competing and he likes League of Legends. But I do feel as though Team Liquid has had Core be a part of their roster for a long time and has not had a lot of success with him. So I wonder if the combination of market forces plus perhaps considerations within Team Liquid about trying to rebuild or reset the roster would dramatically decrease the chances that Core would be playing for them next year. And if he's not playing for them, I wonder if he does get picked up by anybody else, because I think that it's unlikely. It's very hard to imagine seeing Core go to like Shopify or somewhere like that. So it just feels to me like there is a very good chance that this player who's been around for a very, very long time and is like one of the few remaining staples of our league might not participate in it in the future.
So barrel 2025 for TL is what you think?
Yeah.
Okay, that's chill.
All right.
thanks, Russ.
So
Yeah, they're gonna spend that money for sure.
Russ,
Yep.
thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, I guess I'll just shout out two things. The first one just being, I think it's actually the jungler for Disguised, Perry Jungle. That guy has a really cool Discord community and some good coaching resources out there, and I learned a lot from that guy. So just shout out to him. And
Nice.
I guess, yeah. And I'll shout out to Travis and the new YouTube channel video formats that you got going on. Have been pretty good. I've been enjoying them more than interviews. So yeah, that's my two shout outs.
Can I ask you a couple quick questions
Thanks,
here?
Russ.
So one,
Yeah.
why have you? This is very helpful for me. So one, what have you been enjoying about the new videos? And two, is there any reason why you've been enjoying the interviews less, or is it just a situation where like you enjoy the interviews the same, but maybe you enjoy the videos more?
I think the interviews have enjoyed the same. I think the I guess they're like opinion pieces from you, or just
Yeah, call them
more-
editorials.
Yeah, editorials like this, they're more insightful, I guess. Like I get more value out of them than just like whatever. Like some players' opinions and all that stuff is interesting, but maybe in short form it's not that entertaining, or it's just more I don't know, really quick thoughts. But I really enjoy the pros thing on the LCS. Like that's cool when it's in long form. I enjoy
Yeah.
it a lot, but I think interviews haven't really been too interesting in general. Not just you, but like everyone who puts on interviews. I don't even watch any of them anymore, I think.
No, I agree. Like it's been a really tough challenge for me because I am known as the guy who does player interviews, but I find myself increasingly not enjoying making them anymore. And that's not to say that like there aren't ones that I do enjoy making, and I do, like I was at LCS yesterday and I did a bunch of interviews. They're up for members on YouTube, and like I think a lot of them are quite fun and I enjoyed making them. But there was a time where I did 5 interviews a day every LCS day, at least 5, and I'd release like 10 interviews a week. And like that number has decreased a lot because one, I like a lot, like YouTube has changed. Like it's just really hard to put out more than one video a day and have bad things not happen to your channel. But two, I also just feel like there's a lot less to talk about with the LCS for whatever reason, and a lot of the players are like, there's not as much of a story around them, a storyline, because they've been in the league for less time, and the interviews themselves oftentimes are a little bit more dry. So it's like harder for me to keep interviewing players that way. So I don't know. I do like making those the new style of editorial videos a lot. The unfortunate thing for me is that they just haven't been performing very well, especially relative to like some of the editorial videos I've done even a couple months ago. So I've been trying to figure out what to do about it, because they do take a lot more time and in some ways more money. But I want to keep grinding on them because I think that it is better content, and right now I just want to make more better content than I have in a long time. So that's kind of where I'm at. Anyway, thank you, Russ. I appreciate it.
No
That was
worries,
very helpful.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Catch you next time. All right, we got one final call to go.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. Cocaine Sniffles, thank you for the $2. And then
Thank you, cocaine sniffles.
yeah. And then oh, I haven't so Raz gifted a sub to Bald Guy from Brazzers. Finance Consultant, thank you for the Prime. Pangstrom, thank you for the Prime. Vendals, thanks for the bits. Raz gifted to China Hipster. Then Tameable Bread gifted to Jack. Hoodwinked. Boba Cola for 78 months. Holy moly. Dark Tarkanis. Let's see. And then Grand Admiral Neckbeard, thank you for the Prime. Thank you, everybody. We didn't do the normal ad that I do in the middle of the show where I'm like, hey, this show is sponsored by you, because I don't have a sponsor. But it truly is. Like, thank you all, because the only revenue that I'm really getting these days is from ad revenue, and then Twitch sub, like platform ad revenue, I should say, and then Twitch subs and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I'm learning just how expensive LA is. All right, let's talk to Swede, who is somebody who's actually gifted a ton of subs before, and has been very supportive of the channel. Swede, are you in Sweden right now?
I am in Sweden right now.
Yeah, well, fantastic. What time is it?
It is 6 a.m.
Did you wake up
On
or are you still
Tuesday.
awake?
Oh, I'm still awake.
All right. Well, that's crazy. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, I was just we were talking about viewership earlier, and I feel like this is a boomer take here. I feel like the best way to bring Western viewership back is to bring back the in-client player with the live broadcasts, so people can just like tune in while they're in queue or watch while bored or waiting for someone. And
So
I feel
you said
like
bring
we're
it back. I don't think that they've had that before in the client.
back in the Adobe Air days.
Did it on? I guess you could. Man, Adobe Air. That's a throwback.
Yep.
I didn't think it autoplayed the video, but I do remember you could just like click and YouTube stuff would play. But I don't think there was ever a time where they were autoplaying it. Maybe you could click it and it would play.
No, it wasn't autoplay, but you could click it and it was always there.
Yeah.
And available.
So that is very true. So I don't open the League client a ton these days, except for whenever I'm super into TFT or I'm going to aim around with friends, as I'm just not playing Summoner's Rift a lot. But I have talked to people, and I have noticed myself that like they used to do for LCS like client takeovers with a giant picture of like Aphromoo and Doublelift, next to each other, and it would be like it's time for, rush hour or something, and they don't do that anymore. The client doesn't promote jack shit. Do they, Inero?
Yeah, I swear they do.
Every weekend, if you log into
unless it's just on the tournament realm server, which would be weird if they're just doing advertisements only there, and usually those are like the same depending on patch. I swear they do.
There's an esports tab. So like the main
gonna log in right
client,
now.
it promotes like the overview and like the patch notes and like recent stuff. Like they'll have an esports tab, especially during like MSI and Worlds. So you have to click, and they kind of hide it, so it's like not front page for everyone.
Have you guys seen the Valorant esports tab?
No, I don't play Valorant. Why? Is it better?
It's fucking sick.
God damn it!
Like it has like photos of everyone, every team around the world, full photos of all of them. Actually,
okay, question, Inero. Do you think people click that tab?
What tab?
Yeah,
exactly.
The esports one.
My point exactly. No, I have a suspicion that
not.
people get into game client. Like, I think putting anything behind a tab is useless. Like, it might not as well even exist. Because I think people open up a client and then they just go click on play or they message a friend. They're not like, yes, my favorite website to navigate, the Valorant client or like the League of Legends client. And I don't think that they like go through and navigate that stuff. So, like, my prediction is that Valorant gets rid of that esports tab within the next 18 months because I bet you they do studies or they check the not metrics, the telemetry, and they learn that like no one ever clicks it.
So
I bought the guns in that game, like the team guns, because of that tab. Anyways, this is off topic, but
I don't think it's that off topic. It's pretty on topic.
I swear this shit pops up like when it's a game coming on. I swear this becomes like the main screen. I swear it does.
Can I cut in?
If it becomes the main stream, then or main screen, I agree. But if it's a tab, go ahead and cut in, Swede.
Yeah, it doesn't take over unless it's like Worlds or something. But you get a little tiny pop-up that's like, hey, this thing is live right now. Go tune in.
The little
right by your
notification.
blue. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still getting notifications for like gifting a skin 3 years ago.
There's a button you can press that clears that out. You need to press X. You open up the notification thing and you hit X, and then it goes away.
I'm logging on TR now to see if that's what it is, because maybe TR is like default esports, and that's why I've thought that they've done it.
Yeah, I pulled up the client, and like the esports tab's like 4th or 5th, and I will say, Travis, that like when I am in queue, I mostly click around for loot, because like I'll have like chests and stuff to open up, but I do click around the client. Like it's not like it's like overruled, right? And I think like getting patch notes, like a lot of people I want to think would do that. I think it's more front facing of the client. I mean, I think it's a great way to reach people. Like for me, this would be a lever where if I'm a team owner or GM, I am like, why are we not doing this? And you could use a lot of other games. I mean, Valorant is in-house, but Rainbow Six Siege is a game that I'm able to play with like my buddies back in Chicago because it's casual enough. And they did a really good job of promoting their recent major in the client. Where like they pushed forward the fact like it was on the main menu of the game itself. They had they would kick you out into a second tab or like a web client tab where like you could watch it on Twitch.
Sure.
And they also like promoted aggressively the team stickers and like team guns that you like skins that you could get, which of course is great to have in Siege. And I know that way back, I mean, getting like team stickers in the client was a reason that Wildcard Gaming pulled out of League of Legends at some point and then like went to Siege because they were going to get more from that game dev.
Yeah, so I want to be clear here on a couple things. So one, the error noises that people are hearing on stream, that's me trying to open up the Riot client. And two, I am not I am very much in favor of in-client promotion. I think that like they should definitely do in-client promotion. My issue is only if I remain skeptical that like you can I don't know why this is these message I'm getting alerts. I think that I don't want anybody to say that like creating an esports tab that I don't think a lot of people click on in the League client. Maybe it's like maybe it does a takeover for Valorant. Maybe it does a takeover in Siege. I don't think that qualifies as like promoting it. I really, everyone should check this weekend and tell me, because I'll be at the studio. I guess I could open it up at the studio. But like, I don't believe that they are doing client takeovers during the games like they used to. I don't think if you open up League of Legends in the middle of a C9 Team Liquid match or something like that you are going to see like, hey, LCS is happening right now. I think they used to do it. I don't think they do it as much anymore. I know I see some people in chat saying it does. I think some of these people are like either Mendeling affecting themselves or they're remembering like seeing it during Worlds or something, because I just don't think that they're doing it during LCS days.
We'll find out, Travis. I'll do it this week and I'll let you know personally, because I swear I have seen this thing so many times, and the last thing I do when I open the League client is click anything other than play again. Yeah. So I'll find out for you.
I'm opening League right now to see if there's what this esports tab looks like, because I thought there was one.
Basically, what we're saying is we need to put drops on the esports tab. So.
We need more skins, Mark. I didn't get a skin this past week, and if you're still watching, we need more drops. Inero got one, and the rest of us didn't.
He said in the chat earlier that if you didn't get this is actually what he did say. I'm not just making this up. He said in the... Okay, I have a really great story here in a second. He said earlier that if you didn't get a drop, it's because he personally did not give you a drop. So I just opened up the League client. I reformatted my computer recently and reinstalled Windows. So I just had to re-download it. When I went to log in, there was an esports button up at the top. And then it immediately, like the game downloaded enough data to replace it with a big advertisement for like Battle Pass. And oh wait, no, hang on, maybe I accidentally clicked on TFT. No, it's still there. It's still there.
Travis, what are you doing?
I'm opening the client. So it says Lunar Revel, Smolder, Overview, and then Esports. You click Esports, and the most recent thing there is the LCS returns. So they're promoting LCS returning this past weekend, which, you know, I feel like they should be promoting the fact that it's going to happen soon. There's a link to LCS schedule. If I go there, it does show the schedule. LCS Discord, LCS YouTube, and then 2 YouTube videos. But man, I would love to know how often people are clicking on this esports tab, because I just highly doubt that they're clicking on it that often, because I just don't think people click on these little tabs.
Maybe. But yeah, what was the point? What was the caller's point?
The caller's point was we need to have it so that you can watch the games in the client.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's pretty straightforward as a positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's possible, would love that.
Why wouldn't it be?
They already have videos in the client.
Yeah, I just
Oh, I
clicked
don't
on
know.
the cinematic for A Prince's Wish, and it
Guys, I know nothing about tech stuff, so I just don't want to say it's possible, and then I look like an idiot.
Azale's inviting me to an ARAM.
Nice.
It's always possible. It just depends on the whiff, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, we
because,
got a Panda Chunk plush. Wait, this is sick. I've never looked at this tab.
Yeah, you
He's
know why you've
like
never
a
looked
new
at that
thing to
tab?
me.
Because nobody looks at any tabs.
Dude, this thing is dope. I want a Panda Chunk
Ta-
plush.
tabs are a scam. Nobody clicks these.
because esports should be advertising the league, Travis, not the other way around. Come on, get the program.
True. I was thinking of it as a symbiotic relationship. What I should have been thinking about is a parasitic relationship. All right. Thank you, Swede, for the call. I agree. And everybody this week, and let's look and see if, like, when you open up the client, it says it. But Swede, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, shout out to twitch.tv/Travis Gafford. Remember to sub because esports winter is rough out there. And
Nice.
also shout out, I don't know, healthcare. I'm recovering from surgery. That's why I was able to call in. So
I hope you're doing okay.
Yeah, I hope
I
you're
hope
all right.
you're
I'm
good,
fine.
man.
I'm fine.
All right.
Wait, Swede. You're
right.
the one in here who made this guy think that I was mad at him. That I said that he should get a brain.
Oh shit!
You hurt this guy.
Can you provide context for the scenario for people who aren't paying attention to the chat?
If you go to your memes and shit posting channel, someone said this caller should get a brain, and under it is me saying yeah, responding to something else, but it's been cut out of context to just look like I'm saying the caller should get a brain. And the caller thought that we were talking about him because he saw this.
Oh,
Because
Scattercat,
he
who
screenshot
called
it.
in earlier. So Swede said, Inero's the rudest guest.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And it's a screenshot of somebody saying this caller should get a brain, and then Inero saying, yeah, this is in my Discord, which people can get to, discord.gg/Travis. And then people in the chat are all now arguing about it, because Michael, who called in earlier, another caller, said, I'm not surprised that somebody who's interacted with me the way Scattercat has is getting flamed. Scattercat, our callers from this episode are in the Discord right now, in the memes and shitposting channel of all places, all arguing with each other under the premise that Inero has insulted the caller from earlier.
The waiting room was the beefing room
Bad.
today, you know?
How could you do this to me, Swede?
I didn't mean to. I just thought it was funny, man.
This guy. Yeah, no, it was funny timing. I've learned my lesson. I will only respond in Twitch chat via replies, so I do not accidentally hit someone with a stray. Forgive me. Forgive me, guys.
This is, folks, if you listen to the podcast, if you made it all the way to the end of this episode, and you're listening to the podcast or you watch the VOD, like, this is what you miss when you don't tune in live. Because it's a full immersive experience. You've got the guest on the show, but then he's in the Twitch chat, and then people are manipulating him at what he's saying out of context to make it look like he's flaming a caller who was on the call earlier, and then that goes on the Discord. It is truly we create a 360-degree community experience here on Hotline League, and
yes, definitely,
y'all got to get in on it because it's pretty good. Sweet, thank you so much. Thank you for the shout out. Thanks for calling in, and as always, thank you for the support. So,
Peace.
Thanks. Have a good one. All right, everybody, that is the show. Thank you to we actually got a bunch of subs here a second ago. Jack gifted 10 subs. I saw this earlier. Thank you, Jack, for the 10 subs. Mephistophin, thank you for the sub. Joe with the flow. George Zulu, 46 months. Lord Crispin. Godzilla Gorilla, thank you all for the subs. Nobody leave, because I am going to be doing a bounty thing here in a second, and I would appreciate your support because
okay,
God,
I'll stay, Travis.
No, you don't need to stay. We're going to wrap up the show, though, and shout out some people here. So, first off, Cubby, what do you want to plug? What do you want to promote?
Shout out to Travis for being a really cool boss. I got to say, Kelsey's still the best boss I've ever had in this call, but
that started off so great for me, and then you just immediately ruined it.
Inero has been really cool in getting clout in chat, so I feel like I had to throw a couple strays at Travis too at the end just to spice things up. But no, Travis is actually allowing me to do another podcast project, which I can announce on Wednesday, and I'm filming it tomorrow morning at 7:30 in the morning. Because yeah, that's what we're doing. But so shout out to that. You can follow me on Twitter and Twitch at CubbyXX for more VOD review content, and hopefully I can get myself back in the Twitter algorithm to, you know. Everything's just been promo tweets. I have to promote my streams and Travis, so we gotta figure it out.
To be clear, California law prohibits me from stopping Cubby from doing anything else as he's an independent contractor. So if you see him on another show, don't believe that this is out of the generosity of myself. It's more just, you know, living in California, you know, where they just employers have no rights. That's why we all got to move to Sao Paulo, Brazil, the new home of America's League, and also of Kobe and Travis as we get our nice little house there and settle into our life in Brazil. Anyway, Kelsey, what would you like to shout out and plug here at the end?
Shout out to FlyQuest Challengers, the greatest team in North America, for sure. Especially Shaden and Sturdy. I'm absolutely not biased whatsoever, remotely. But yeah, they've been tearing it up in NACL. If you guys want to watch NACL, and I think both of them are definitely like high LCS caliber players. I think that entire team is LCS caliber, more or less. Sajed maybe needs a little bit of time to cook, but he's definitely getting there. So yeah, good time. If you want to watch NACL, you can follow me on Twitch. I co-stream NACL, KARONMOSER. I know it's very confusing, but just go with it. And then I also co-stream LPL. So I'll be co-streaming LPL in about like 3.5 hours as well. So feel free to come hang out. Otherwise, shout out Travis, Inero, Cubby, great show, good times. We're all making it through the LCS esports time, and we all still do enjoy LCS, even if it might seem like from this show that we do not. So shout out to the LCS.
I'm not sure Inero does.
So yeah, he
Travis.
admitted to it.
Inero, do you enjoy the LCS?
Yes, I enjoy the LCS, but I'm not going to watch it for work. All right.
Would you watch it for pleasure?
Yes, if it's my friends playing.
Okay, that sounds more like a friendship requirement than an enjoy. If your friends aren't playing, would you watch the LCS at Arrow?
I'd put it on a second monitor while I play League of Legends instead.
Okay. And you'd find out that it's on because you would open up League of Legends and the client would tell you, right?
Yes, it would be right there, and I'd watch it through the client.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to find out this weekend. All right. Inero, what do you want to shout out or plug?
I have no shout outs at all. Travis, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. And that's it. Thank you.
Your microphone got really good by the end here. I just want to say.
Dude, I haven't changed anything, by the way. Like, you guys have said my microphone's gotten worse and better throughout the whole show. Haven't changed a single thing.
No, right now it's perfect.
Okay.
You're not going to do the Toast Patreon plug?
I don't think he's watching this, so I think I'm safe. Yeah.
Good luck surviving the cold.
You don't think he's watching this?
Yeah.
His
I don't think
minions,
he's watching this.
his minions watch everything.
I'm sure someone will send him the clip, so.
Yeah.
By the way, we
Yeah,
almost have
lucky.
more viewers on YouTube right now than we do Twitch. So just want to shout out YouTube
Perfect.
because they show up and they watch, and they complain in the chat that they always get ignored. But I don't know what you guys expect. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. It's an interesting time. I'll just put it that way. I'm going to go wrap this up. I'll stream for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to go play some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh,
It's a good game. All right. Catch you all next week.